In this tutorial, we're going to examine how to use a small Java applet called Igeom to look at the relationship between inscribed and central angles within a circle. Lots of other applications for this as well, but that's just a starting point. First thing you're going to need to do is go to the link that you see on your screen, this one right here, mathematica.br/Igeom, and download the applet. The link is right here. The next thing you'll have to do is create a small batch file which loads Igeom in English, because by default, if you just run the application, it will load in Portuguese, which makes navigating a little more difficult. This is the text here that you need to include in the batch file. So when you go to download, you can just copy that text, paste it in a text file. Make sure that that text file has a .bat extension, and then make sure that that batch file resides in the same folder that you put the Igeom applet. Once you've done that, you run the Igeom applet, and it looks something like this. So in our particular application, we first want to draw a circle. So we come up here to the circle tool. Now Igeom operates a little differently than we're used to. There's no clicking and dragging in Igeom. It's click and release, and then pull out, and then click again to finish the operation. Now there's our circle. It defaults. It created a point J center and a point K on the circumference. For our purposes, we want 2 more points. So we come here, and we create another point and another point. Now our next job would be to draw line segments. So we click on the segment tool, and we want this one where we're going from endpoint to endpoint. Now we want to make sure that the dot, the point, is highlighted. We click on that one and we release. We don't drag. As soon as that dot is highlighted, we click to finish. So now we'd come to this point. Again, you'll see a little yellow highlight appear. Click. And once that point is highlighted, click. Now we need our points, or rather our segments, from the center of the circle. So we click. Again, watch for the highlighting of the point only, not the circle. And we can draw these in any direction we want. Make sure that's the point that's highlighted, and click again. So always when you're drawing within this program, it's a click and release and a second click to draw an object, not a click and drag. So now we have the angles that we want to measure, and we want to examine the relationship between. Our next job is to try and measure these angles. So we're going to click on the measurement button here, and we'll see that we can measure distance with this button and angles with this one. And the way to do angles is to select the points that define the angle. So in this case, I'm going to click and drag just around M. It's the easiest way to select the point and make sure it's selected. I'm going to hold down the Control key and click and drag, and hold down the Control key and click and drag. Now the one thing you need to know here is that the order you select the points is important. You need to make sure that the vertex of the angle is the second point you select. Otherwise, you won't measure the angle you think you're measuring. We click here, and we see that we get a measurement immediately for that angle. It says angle MJK is 126.451 degrees. So the other angle we want to measure is the inscribed angle. And again, we select the points. We don't select the rays that form the angle. So I'm going to click and drag around M. Remember, my second point that I select must be the vertex of the angle. So I'm control clicking and dragging around that, and control clicking and dragging around K. And then we come up here again with those points selected and measure the angle. So our angle here is 63.226. So as you would expect, if you're knowledgeable about this, the inscribed angle is half the measure of the central angle. Now, if we want to examine that relationship further, we'd grab the hand, and again, we could move these points. But we click, and then we move, and we click to finalize. So we see 96, 48. We can also move this vertex, again, with the hand active, click. Let's try that again. Click and click. And what we see there, of course, is that moving that inscribed angle does not change its measurement in any way. So that's just a very simple tutorial on one way that you can use Igeom to examine geometric relationships. In this case, it was inscribed in central angles, but obviously with that little tutorial, you can very quickly take that knowledge and apply it to many other situations.